All right, what up? Welcome to week 5. Today we're going to be talking about tempo, which just means how fast you're moving weights. That's it. Every exercise, though, has really 2 distinct parts. It has the part where you're contracting the muscles. This is called the concentric motion. And then the opposite, where the muscles stretch, that's called the eccentric. Okay? Concentric, eccentric. Now there's the parts in between those 2. So there's really 4. Now, a majority of the exercises we're going to give you in this first phase have very similar tempos, where the concentric is 1 second long, whether it's a bicep curl or whether it's an overhead press, and then usually the eccentric is a little bit longer, maybe a second longer. So for a bicep curl, it'll probably be about 2 seconds, because you want to control the weight as your muscles stretch, whether it's in a bicep curl or whether it's in some sort of lunge. You want to control that. You don't just want to drop to the ground, because that's how you would get hurt. Now, there are ways that you can manipulate tempo to help yourself out. The main one that I know of, that I've used in the past, is slowing my tempo down in order to get used to a movement, especially if it's new or if it includes a joint that's been injured. So for example, I remember when I had patellar tendonitis in my knee and it hurt to actually lunge, I not only lowered the weight, but instead of doing like a 1 to 2 second downward phase like this and then standing back up, I ended up adding a second to it. So I would take about 3 to 4 seconds, lower myself down, and then stand back up. And it allowed me to create a mind-muscle connection with the muscles that I'm using. Now, you can also use those periods in between the concentric and eccentric to develop confidence in a movement. For example, a squat. This is the hardest part of a squat. You're at the bottom, your muscles are fully stretched. We do something called pause squats, where people will lower to the bottom, they'll pause, they'll hold, they'll learn how to contract their ribs, their glutes, their quads, and then they'll stand up. So you can use tempo to learn a movement better and to be confident in it. Now you'll find, and this is probably the area where most people go wrong, is that your tempo will change during the course of a set as you get more tired. For example, if I'm doing this overhead press, I'm taking about 1 second to go up, 1.5 seconds to lower down, maybe half of a second pausing in between. I'm at, let's say, 6, 7 reps. As I get to my fatigue point, 12, 15 reps, I'm going to find that I have to go slower in order to maintain integrity of the movement. Otherwise, my elbow will shoot out to the side and I'll do something like this. So as you get tired with every rep, with each set, realize you're going to have to slow down your tempo in order to maintain proper form. Okay? I see way too many people making their last rep look like their first rep. And that just means that they're either blowing through it or they're not pushing themselves to the point of fatigue, which we'll talk about in the next couple of weeks. So those are my thoughts on tempo. Use it to get over an injury. You can use it to become more aware of your body inside of a certain exercise. And then you also have to understand that it will change as the set goes by. Last thing I want to point out is some exercises are slow, but then some exercises are fast. So you just have to understand what's appropriate for each movement. Okay, but the more you do this stuff, the better you'll get at it. All right, I'll see you next week.